and today we're going to be doing part 1 of a tutorial for sugar cookies. So we're going to start out with the recipe. You can click on the link for the recipe. It's really good and super simple, okay? We start with 3/4 cups of soft room temperature butter, and we attach our paddle attachment to the mixer. And to that we're going to add 3/4 cup of sugar, granulated sugar. Now you want to mix this for about 2 to 3 minutes on a medium-low speed, okay? So after 3 minutes, you can see what it looks like here. Okay, so it's just a pale yellow butter and sugar mixture. And we want to scrape down the bowl a little bit. And to this, we're going to want to add our egg, okay? It's a room temperature egg. And you can add your vanilla and almond flavoring if that's what you choose to use. You can flavor this dough with anything. You can use lemon or peppermint. I like the vanilla and almond as it calls for in the recipe. It's really tasty. You can also skip the vanilla and almond. You can just make them just sugar flavored, or just add vanilla if you don't like the almond flavoring, but the almond flavoring is really tasty. So this calls for a teaspoon of vanilla and a 1/4 to a 1/2 teaspoon of almond flavoring. I like to use the full half, just because it makes the taste really nice. Little messy. Okay, so we attach this back on, and you just want to keep whipping this until it's nice and fluffy. So once you've mixed your egg, vanilla, almond into the butter and sugar mixture, you should have something that looks, nice pale yellow, all right, and fluffy. To this, we want to add our baking powder and our 1/4 teaspoon of salt. And we're going to add our 2 1/4 cups of all-purpose flour. I want baking powder. And sorry, it was a 1/2 teaspoon of baking powder. Okay, so we can just basically put our flour in. I like to give it a little mix with my spatula, okay? Because sometimes when you turn the mixer on, you might get a big puff of flour powder all over the place, which is not fun. So I just give it a little pre-mix. And back into the mixer. We want to start a little slow so we don't get that cloud of flour. So just pulse it. And once the flour and butter starts to get mixed, it'll start to form a ball, okay? So you want to mix this for just about a minute or so, not very long. So you don't want to mix everything for too long, about a minute or so, just until it's combined, okay? So we can remove this now from our mixer. And you're going to have a nice, soft, not sticky dough. All right? We're going to take our dough and we're going to just make it into a ball. And you should have a nice tender dough. With this, you can just form it into a little ball. And we're going to split this into 2 pieces. Now in the recipe, it says to roll the dough out. You can do that, and you can roll it out to about a 1/4 inch thickness, or about 5 to 6 millimeters. Anyways, so once you have your 2 equal size little balls, we're gonna wrap these in saran wrap, and we're gonna chill them in the fridge for about an hour. So once you've wrapped your little flattened balls in saran wrap, we want to put these in the fridge to chill for about an hour, and then we're gonna come back and roll these out and cut some cookie shapes and bake them. So here we're just gonna wrap our little balls, or little circles, in some saran wrap, and we're gonna chill these in the fridge for about an hour. And when we come back, we're gonna roll these out and cut out some sugar cookie shapes and bake them. Hi, so we've chilled our dough, and now I'm going to show you guys how I roll it out, the thickness, and how we get the little shapes to make the little gnomes. Now you don't need fancy cookie cutters. These little gnomes here are actually made with just a circle cutter or the bottom of a glass. I like this glass because it's got a thin edge on it, so it makes a nice clean cut. Also, this little bit larger gnome is made with an Easter egg cutout. And this one here, that's got a little bit of a shape, I used a little pear cutout. And this one, again, another, just a half of an Easter egg. So you don't need fancy cutters if you don't have them. Now what we're gonna do is, the dough has been chilled for over an hour, and I've had it sitting on the counter for about 10 minutes. So I can kind of, I can shape it. It's kind of stiff, but I can work with it. So we're gonna use a little bit of parchment on top of your counter. I find it's nice to work with. If you have a silicone mat, you can use that as well, but parchment works great because it doesn't stick and it's easy to clean up. So we can put our first chilled circle. We can sprinkle it with a little bit of flour. Take our rolling pin, and we're just gonna roll it out. And I like to roll my dough out about 5 to 6 millimeters. So I can just take a little ruler and measure what 5 to 6 millimeters is. And you can, if you have an edible food marker pen, you can take a little toothpick. You can measure 5 to 6 millimeters on the toothpick. And once you've rolled out your dough, you can just put the toothpick in it and see how thick the dough is, okay? Now you don't want to have your dough too thick or too thin. Obviously, if it's too thin, you're going to over bake it and it's going to be kind of brittle. And if it's too thick, it's not going to bake properly, okay? So we've rolled out our dough, and again, we're just going to make these cute little shapes using the round cookie cutter or glass, okay? So what I do is I just cut out as many as will fit on my rolled out dough. We'll do 6. So once we've got the shapes cut out, we want to peel away the extra dough, okay, leaving our shapes behind. And with either a sharp knife or a spatula, if you have it, you can very gently lift your shape up. Okay, so there you'll see your shape, and it's about 5 millimeters in thickness, which is what we want. We can tuck in any little edges that might be poking out. And now we're going to just shape it, okay? We're going to try and get this little triangular shape. Now if you have a triangle cutter, that's great. If you don't, we'll use our hands to shape it. Okay. So here I'm just going to use my hands to get a little point, okay? I'm just very gently going to push And I just use my fingers as the length, okay, for this particular little shape. And I've cut this one flat on the bottom, but we don't have to cut it flat. You can just leave it round if you like, and then it's got more of a teardrop shape. And just smooth it out. Give it a nice little point. Now if you want, you can manipulate the little point so it looks more like a little hat, okay? If you want. This one is straight up and down. But it's just done with your hands, okay? Now once you have your little shape, again, you can just lift off a little bit and transfer to your cookie sheet, okay? So now I'm just gonna shape the other ones, and then once they're all shaped, I like to chill my shapes again for about 5 minutes just in the fridge just to set them. And this usually gives me enough time to preheat my oven, and you preheat it to heat it to 350, and these cookies will bake for about 11 minutes, 10 to 12 minutes depending on your oven, okay? You just want them to be slightly golden on the bottom, and that's it. So my oven, I do 11 minutes. You'll just have to figure out and gauge how your oven works. So cookies were in the oven at 350 for 11 minutes, and here they are, and they look absolutely perfect. That's what you want. You want them to be, you know, nice and pale still, but with a nice golden bottom. So you know that they're cooked perfectly, and the house smells good. And now we're just gonna let them cool, and our next step will be to show you how to make the royal icing, color the royal icing, and decorate these adorable cookies into adorable little gnomes.